Presidential candidates are turning their attention to older voters as Election Day nears. President Trump and his Democratic opponent Joe Biden campaigned in key battleground states yesterday, and both had messages for seniors.
Your grandkids, who hope will grow up to treat one another with kindness, respect, and empathy, qualities the president has never, ever shown. It's become painfully clear as this careless, arrogant, reckless COVID response has caused one of the worst tragedies in American history. The only senior that Donald Trump cares about, the only senior is senior Donald Trump.
Now Biden is pledging mass amnesty and federal health care for the illegal aliens, decimating Medicare and destroying your Social Security. Biden cares more about illegal aliens than he cares about your senior citizens.
All right, let's bring in Ben Tracy, who's joining us from the White House. Ben, it strikes me that the president's strategy in trying to reach some of these voters is to replay some of his greatest hits from 2016, 2015, sort of the same refrain that we heard back then when it was perhaps appealing and fresh to some voters in this country. What are you hearing? It's clear the president is seeing the polls. The polls are indicating, specifically in the last couple of weeks since he became infected with COVID-19, that seniors are turning away from his appeal and they are moving towards Joe Biden. What are you hearing are the two strategies that these campaigns are going to have going forward?
Well, the president may be playing the old hits because back in 2016, those certainly worked. The president's win was really boosted by senior citizens in this country, especially in key swing states like Florida, where the president won with the support of seniors by double digits. The problem this time is, as you point out, it doesn't seem to be working. The polls are showing that Joe Biden now has the double-digit lead among seniors nationally in some recent polls. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But strategy-wise, you do hear the president using some of those scare tactics, talking about how Joe Biden prefers illegal aliens to senior citizens without offering, anything to back that up. The president also has been trying to make some pretty blatant appeals to seniors by sending out these prescription drug cash cards, which Joe Biden yesterday dismissed as an election year gimmick. And then Biden's tactic really seems to be hammering on the coronavirus, saying that President Trump downplaying this by not taking it seriously, it shows that he doesn't care about you, the group that is the most vulnerable to getting this disease. And one thing that I thought that Biden did yesterday that was very interesting is he said, well, Donald Trump's been hosting super spreader events at the White House and Republicans are there hugging each other. When was the last time you saw your grandchildren? So he's trying to kind of really hammer this home for senior citizens that they're making sacrifices while the president is downplaying that.
Ben, the president also at the same rally made an appeal to another group, suburban women. I want to play a little sound from that.
I ask you to do me a favor. Suburban women, will you please like me? Remember? Please. Please. I saved your damn neighborhood, okay?
It sort of reminded me of sort of the middle school note that you would send to the person you were crushing on, like, do you like me? Check mark yes, no. And then you'd sort of toss it, except in this case it's a ballot, I suppose, right? So can we talk about the significance of this appeal? It's a very direct appeal. Reminds me of the last campaign when he was appealing to black voters and kind of said, what do you got to lose? What is this appeal all about?
Well, I think it shows the president ain't too proud to beg. That was very direct last night at that rally, this appeal to suburban voters. And it's similar to his appeal to seniors. I mean, suburban voters are a big part of the president's base. He won them in a lot of these swing states, and that's what helped get him over those thresholds in 2016. But again, the polls are showing those voters just aren't there for him this time. And he's obviously seeing these polls. His campaign is doing these internal polls. And as much as he wants to dismiss them, it's pretty clear the two groups that he's going after. And now suburban women was a big focus for the president last night. This is also hand in hand with the president's message of law and order. He has basically said to these folks, you're going to have poor minorities coming in and ruining your suburbs if you get Joe Biden in office, and I'm going to protect you from that. that doesn't seem to be resonating with suburban voters as far as the polls show.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure what he means when he says, I saved your suburbs. From what? It's unclear what he's talking about. My parents live in the suburbs. They're the same as they are today, like they were in the 1980s when I was still living there. So I'm a little confused. But Ben, let me ask you about this Supreme Court ruling yesterday to stop the 2020 census count. Why is this being considered a win for President Trump?
Well, so the Trump administration has wanted to end the census count early. They basically said that they need enough time for Congress to certify it and to get it to the White House by the deadline of December 31st. So there was this appeals court ruling that basically said that the census could go on until October 31st, so the end of the month. Now, the Supreme Court has said that it can end immediately. The reason this could be significant is you have civil rights groups, some local governments who have sued, saying that basically if you end it early, this disproportionately could leave out minorities because it's oftentimes harder to count them in the country. The reason this matters in the big picture is, of course, the census is what we use to determine how many congressional seats each state gets. So if for some reason minority representation is underrepresented, that could hurt places where there are more minorities. That could result in fewer congressional seats for those areas.
President Trump also weighed in on the stimulus package that was supposed to be, they're supposed to be negotiating. I don't know if they're getting any work done. He tweeted out, "Go big or go home." This is after a tweet before saying that he was calling off his negotiators, and then a tweet saying that he was willing to negotiate sort of piecemeal bills. Where exactly does the White House stand right now on a stimulus package?
Yeah, I feel like a broken record on this one. This is still all over the place. The president has not defined what go big is. He's not defined what would lead him to go home. So we just don't know. The latest official proposal by the White House is $1.8 trillion. That's about $400 billion off of what the Democrats want. But House Speaker Nancy Pelosi doesn't seem very interested in taking the White House up on this offer. There is some kind of political jujitsu going on Capitol Hill right now, where you have Mitch McConnell, who's not been a fan of any of these plans because a lot of his members, GOP senators, don't want anything, or they want something very small, if that. But McConnell's now kind of threatening to put this GOP bill on the floor and say, okay, let's vote on this. And I just kind of dare you Democrats in a couple of weeks before the election here not to provide money for small businesses. So we'll see how that plays out. Speaker Pelosi seemed to be pretty attuned to what President Trump actually wants, which are stimulus checks with his name on it to go out right before Election Day. And she does not seem inclined to give him that kind of Election Day gift.
Indeed, she said that a few times in some interviews yesterday. Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.